Okay, I'm back. This is part two, and I hope I can get through this real quick. I just want to talk about this part. I know that many of you are dealing with the transition, as I said before. You're positioning, probably fixing to leave a church, or you may not even be in a church. But I want to say this to you. Even though you've been hurt, you've been wounded, you've went through a lot of different transitions with leadership, it's not God's will to not be connected to a body. And this is what this purpose of this message is about. So you can see this lethal servitude, how it has wounded you because you've been loyal and they've been disloyal to you. Whether it was, using your gifts up or working you and not recognizing you or whatever that is, whatever that hurt is. But I want to just kind of get you to know if you're the leader who is the one that's doing this. You got to know that this is not God's will for you to be this, have this style of leadership, that this authoritative type of leadership where you're using people to the point just so you can be glorified, you can be lifted up, and you can carry yourself as though, where everybody is so beneath you. We got to recognize that this is not good. God is not happy with these things, and I want to make sure we remember that these areas that we're doing in these areas of works, the Bible tells us here in First John chapter 3, verse let's look at verse 4. It says, "So this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another, not as Cain, okay, the spirit of murder, whether it was physical or spiritually, and they doing it physically today, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother, and wherefore slew he him?" Why? Because his own works were evil, and his brother's righteous. You know, we got to recognize that sometimes as a leader, we may get in this position that we don't recognize that, just because God has gifted us, we get into this position that we think that we can communicate things to people and they just need to eat that, whatever that is. And sometimes the communication is not straight. The speech is not even clear. You're vague. You're confusing. But you're demanding. You don't know what it is that you really want. And see, and many times the things that you're doing or you're saying, the minors are you looking at when you need to be focusing on the major. The majors, those two things I just told you early on about the love and about the compassion of those that are around you. I'll be sending a message later on about looking at those that are around you and seeing what they have need of. Because many times we're so spiritual that we're no earthly good. See, these majors, and we're looking at minor issues, and we neglect the truly important things. These things that we're not conscious about, but yet we're conscientious about the things that are around us. Like, have they tithed? Have they done this to try to keep the building and the church open? That's fine, that's good. But when people can't fill those two basic needs that I talked about later, what? They feel neglected, they leave. They feel like you have treated them, mistreated them. And so I want to finish sharing about these particulars, as I said earlier on, about the deception, about the disloyalty. As I said earlier on, I said I was going to give you 6 different things that to consider. And, I talked about first about how this spirit has creeped in. And I gave the example about, Absalom doing the same thing as his dad did, and he began to sleep with his own dad's concubines. Why? Because the spirit of deception, they move in and they do the same things. Meaning, I'm gonna get you before you get me, or you gonna wish you hadn't done so and so, because I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna make sure the gossip gets so bad that eventually you're gonna leave the church, or what? The church is gonna split. Now we gotta make certain that's number 2. We want to make certain that everything that you've heard or that someone said, that the pastor said, or whoever leadership said, that these facts are true and they can be proven before you, release yourself from the church or release yourself from your duty. The truth is important. Without hesitation, you got to go and discuss this matter with your leader. It's very important. Why? Because gossip is not facts. Countless people have stained people's lives because of jealousy and just because they just rebellious. And so we got to make sure that we deal with that spirit. Then the third thing, you want to give the person or the leader a chance to be heard. If they're willing, They may not want to be because they feel like you just rebellious and you just want things your way. But you got to give that leader a chance to be heard, and you want to bring everybody else that's involved in case that issue needs to be won as a group meeting or a church meeting. It might have to be taken to the church. Who knows? Then the fourth thing is hearing. It's so important that we hear. It's not just what? Say, oh, I can hear. But it's not wisdom to what? To take accusation against someone and they what? Not represent or speak their heart. You've got to hear them out. You've got to hear in the spirit the heartbeat of the person who says that what? You are being disloyal to me. I feel like you're in the servitude mode, that I don't want to serve anymore now because I'm in servitude. I thought I was in servanthood, but actually I'm in servitude because you've been disloyal to me. Number 5, you need to ask sincere and appropriate questions about their disloyalty, which means you want to compare their answers with their actions. You take your ears out their talk and focus on their walk. Why? Because many people do a good talk. That's why we got a church full of, quote, Christians who have no presence of God or oil in their life. They do a good talk. They can preach because the gifts and callings are without repentance, and they can serve like all get out. But many of them, as I said before, are in servitude and not servanthood. So watch their walk. Watch how they're up at their door. Watch how they're up in their choir. Watch how they're moving their bodies and shaking out their limbs like they're at a club. Oh, I know I'm talking to somebody up there in that choir stand. Number 6, discuss with the person the reasons why he or she is being what? What they just feeling so disloyal, feeling like they're in this servitude mode. And then explain to them why you want to be released from the service, or why you want to be released from the position, or why you want to leave the church. Be honest and be open and allow God to speak in a loving way, in a forgiving way, with a soft heart, with long suffering, so you can have hope and so it won't be a breach between y'all. Okay, then number 7, make certain that when you get ready to go, or if you got to leave, what? If you're going to leave for a season just to get some healing, make sure that when you leave with peace, leave with respect, and make sure that you leave in the proper leadership protocol. You don't want to just leave out and go running around telling people stuff about the church, and you know what? You probably was operating in servitude because you felt disloyalty. But if you need to consult with someone, it's important that you get with some Bible-based, sound, a person who is living righteously for the Lord in order what? To not reap the same spirit back to your own self, that you eat the same fruit that you've been speaking against the leadership of those that you are having a breach with. Up the road, you'll see that trap, and you do not want to fall in that trap. We realize we got to try every spirit by the Spirit, as the Bible tells us in 1 John 4, and we got to believe that God is showing us and not our flesh. We got to believe and not by what? Our flesh, that the Spirit of God is showing us the true heart of those things that are not true and those things that are true. Because he goes on to say, hereby know ye what? The Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come into what? The flesh is of God. And every spirit that confesses not that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. My God. If you're in transition, know this. You've got to leave with a soft heart. You've got to leave with forgiveness. And you've got to leave knowing that you're not in shape to go serve anywhere else. Because why? Your heart may still be in servitude and not servanthood. Well, I guess I got to get out of here. Remember that lethal servitude can do a whole lot of damage to a church. And you don't want to wind up the very thing that you say you didn't want or you didn't like. Now that thing has jumped on you. You want to be loyal. You want to be loving. You want to be giving. You want to make sure that the fruit of love and loyalty rests on you. So what is loyalty? Loyalty is feeling devoted and attached and affection. That's that inward and outward love. It's not that surface kind of love where you just showing through what? Your works. And in this hour, because you've been hurt, because people have shown you disloyalty, this spirit of deception has caused many people to work and to work out their gifts through selfish motives. And that's why they serve in servitude. Well, got to get out of here. God bless you. I pray that this message help you. And know this, only the things that you do for Christ will last. You don't want to do them for your own selfish gain, trust me. You don't want to even go out with a heart of stone or rebellion. And most importantly, you truly don't want to go out with a heart of backbiting. You will eat that fruit and you will fall into that same ditch of disloyalty that you left. Well, it's up to you. Good night.